The first time I saw someone walking through my asparagus rows, I thought it was a mistake. It happens sometimes when you own land near a lake community. People get turned around, take the wrong path, assume open space means public space. So I didn't react right away. I just watched from the porch as a couple walked straight through the middle of the rows, stepping over the raised beds like they were crossing a park. They didn't even look down. That should have bothered me more than it did. Because if you know anything about asparagus, you know those beds aren't just dirt. They're years of work. Careful planting, spacing, maintenance. You don't just step through them without damaging something. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Until it happened again, and again. And then again the next morning. Different people. Same path. Straight through my land. That's when I knew it wasn't random. It was being allowed, encouraged, maybe even directed. I walked out to the edge of the field that afternoon and waited. It didn't take long. Within 15 minutes, I saw another group coming down from the direction of the HOA properties, talking casually, heading straight toward the same path like they'd done it before. "Hey!" I called out. They stopped, looked at me, confused. "You can't walk through here," I said. One of them shrugged. "We were told this was access to the lake," he replied. There it was, told. "By who?" I asked. He pointed back up the slope. "The HOA lady," he said. "She said it's fine." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because now it made sense. "Yeah," I said slowly. "It's not fine." They hesitated for a second, then turned and walked back the way they came, clearly not looking for an argument. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the source. So I went up there, straight to her. She was exactly where I expected, standing near the entrance to the HOA path, talking to someone else like she was managing a small operation. Clipboard in hand, posture confident, that same look people get when they believe they control more than they actually do. "We need to talk," I said. She turned, slightly annoyed at the interruption. "Can I help you?" "Yeah," I replied. "Stop sending people through my property." She blinked once, then tilted her head slightly. "Your property?" I nodded. "The asparagus rows. The land your guests keep walking through." She waved that off immediately. "That's a common access route to the lake," she said. "No," I said. "It's not." Her expression tightened slightly. "We've been using that path for years." "That doesn't make it yours," I replied. That didn't sit well with her, at all. "Our community has established access points," she said. "If your land is adjacent, that's something you'll need to accommodate." I stared at her for a second. "No," I said again, calmer this time. "I won't." She crossed her arms. "You don't get to block access to shared amenities." "It's not shared," I said, "and it's not an amenity. It's my farm." That word didn't seem to matter to her. "You're disrupting community flow," she said. I almost smiled, because that was the moment I realized something important. She didn't think she was wrong. She thought I was. Which meant this wasn't going to stop with a conversation. "Tell your guests to stay off my land," I said. She shook her head. "We'll review it," she replied, already turning away like the discussion was over. That was it. No agreement, no understanding, just dismissal. So I went back home, and the next day, it happened again. More people, same path, same damage. That's when I stopped asking, and started preparing, because if people were going to keep walking through my land like it didn't belong to anyone, I needed a way to show exactly what was happening, every time, from every angle. So I installed cameras, not one or two, every bed, every row, every entry point, high enough to cover everything, clear enough to see faces, timestamps, movement tracking, the kind of setup that doesn't just record, it proves. And within 24 hours, I had more footage than I expected. Groups walking through casually, kids stepping directly on the beds, someone even dragging a cooler across the rows like it was a shortcut through a field that didn't matter. But the part that caught my attention was something else, something better. Because in multiple clips, you could see her, standing at the top of the path, pointing, directing, sending people straight through my land, clear as day, no confusion, no misunderstanding, just instruction. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a problem anymore, it was evidence. I didn't confront her right away. Not this time. Because now I had something better than an argument. I had proof. Clear, time-stamped, from multiple angles, showing exactly what had been happening and exactly who was responsible. So instead of walking up there again and letting her brush it off like before, I waited. I let it happen one more day, then another, quietly collecting more footage, more examples, more moments that all pointed to the same thing. This wasn't confusion, this wasn't accident, this was routine. By the third day, I had enough. That afternoon, I walked back up toward the HOA entrance, not rushed, not angry, just focused. She was there again, same spot, same posture, talking to another couple who looked like they were asking for directions. And right on cue, she pointed, straight toward my land. That was when I stepped in. "Don't," I said. She turned, clearly irritated at being interrupted again. "Excuse me?" "Don't send them through my property," I said. The couple looked between us, unsure, already stepping back a little like they didn't want to be part of whatever this was turning into. She let out a short breath. "We've already discussed this," she said. "No," I replied. "You ignored it." That shifted her tone immediately. "I didn't ignore anything," she said sharply. "That path is used by the community." I shook my head slightly. "You're still doing it," I said, "after I told you to stop." She crossed her arms again, leaning into that same confidence. "Because it's not your decision to make," she replied. That was the moment. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and opened the first video. Then I held it up. "Watch," I said. She didn't want to at first. I could see it. But she did. And as the footage played, her expression didn't collapse immediately. It tightened, subtly, carefully, like she was trying to stay ahead of it. The video showed her clearly, standing exactly where we were now, pointing down the path, directing a group of people straight into my asparagus rows. Timestamp in the corner. Clear angle. No obstruction. "This is you," I said. "That's not what it looks like," she replied quickly. I almost expected that. So I swiped to the next clip. Different day, same spot, same motion. Her pointing again. Another group walking through. "That's also not what it looks like?" I asked. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then doubled down. "You're taking that out of context," she said. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said, then pulled up another. And another. And another. Each one the same. Each one clear. Each one removing any possible excuse. By the time I stopped, the couple she had been talking to had already stepped away, quietly leaving the situation behind. Now, it was just us. And the truth. "You're directing people through my property," I said, after being told not to. She shook her head again, but there was less certainty behind it now. "That path has always been used," she said. "That doesn't make it legal," I replied. "It's community access," she insisted. "It's trespassing," I said. That word hit the same way it always does. Heavy, unavoidable, final. She straightened slightly. "You're overreacting," she said. I didn't respond right away. I just tapped my phone once more and turned the screen toward her again. "This one has audio," I said. She didn't speak. The clip played. Her voice, clear. "Just go straight through there, it's fine," she said in the recording, pointing exactly where she had pointed moments ago. No ambiguity, no confusion, just instruction. When it ended, the silence between us was different, because now there was nothing left to argue. "You're sending people onto my land," I said again. She looked at the screen, then back at me, and for the first time since this started, she didn't respond immediately. That hesitation told me everything. "This doesn't change anything," she said finally, but her voice didn't carry the same weight anymore. "It changes everything," I replied. She shook her head, trying to regain ground. "You can't block access to the lake," she said. "I can block access to my property," I said. "They'll just keep using it," she said. I nodded once. "Not after this." That's when I stepped back slightly and said something she didn't expect. "I've already filed a report." That stopped her, completely. "What?" she asked. "With the county," I said, and I shared the footage. Now the silence hit harder, because this wasn't just between us anymore. This had moved beyond her control. "You didn't need to do that," she said quickly. "I did," I replied. She looked around briefly, like she was trying to reset the situation, find a way to contain it. But there wasn't one. Not now. Not with evidence. Not with documentation. Not with other people already aware. "This is going too far," she said. "No," I said calmly. "It already went too far." That was it. That was the moment the balance shifted. Because before, she had authority, or at least she thought she did. Now, she had exposure. And those are not the same thing. She didn't argue after that, didn't push, didn't try to redirect. She just stood there for a second, then turned and walked back toward the HOA buildings without another word. But I knew something. People like her don't stop because they're wrong. They stop because they have to. And when they do, there's always one last move. For the next 2 days, something unusual happened. Nothing. No footsteps through the rows, no voices cutting across the beds, no groups wandering through like it was part of a guided path. The field stayed quiet, untouched, exactly the way it should have been from the start. But I didn't assume it was over. Because silence like that doesn't come from understanding. It comes from pressure. And pressure always leads to one of two things: compliance or a final attempt. That attempt came on the third morning. I was out by the edge of the rows, checking a few damaged sections from earlier in the week when I saw them coming down the slope again. Not random visitors this time, not confused guests. 3 people, dressed differently, more formal, walking with purpose, and right behind them, her. But this time, she wasn't in front. She was following. That told me everything I needed to know before they even reached me. "Morning," one of the men said as they approached. "We're here on behalf of the HOA board." I nodded slightly. "I figured," I replied. He gestured lightly toward the land. "We've reviewed the situation," he said, "and we need to discuss access concerns." I didn't move. "There's nothing to discuss," I said. "This is private property." He gave a small, measured nod. "We understand your position," he said, "but this path has been used by residents for a long time." "That's been made clear," I replied. "It's still not theirs to use." The second man stepped forward slightly, holding a folder. "We're not disputing ownership," he said, "but we are evaluating whether there's any established right-of-way or implied access." There it was, their last angle, not ownership, access. I almost respected it, almost. "Then you already know the answer," I said. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he opened the folder, flipped through a few pages, then looked back up at me. "There's no recorded easement," he said. "Simple, direct, final." The third man exhaled quietly. "And without that," he added, "there's no legal basis for continued use." That was it. That was the last piece. Not my claim, not my footage. Their own review, their own conclusion. Behind them, I could see her posture shift again, just slightly, like the weight of everything had finally settled where it belonged. "So what happens now?" I asked. The first man closed the folder. "We'll be issuing a notice to residents," he said, "clarifying that this area is not accessible and directing all foot traffic to designated routes." I nodded once. "Good." He hesitated briefly, then added, "We'll also be addressing how this was communicated previously." That wasn't directed at me. That was directed at her. And everyone there knew it. She didn't say anything, didn't step forward, didn't defend herself, because there was nothing left to defend. Everything had already been said, proven, confirmed. The second man looked out over the rows for a moment, taking in the layout, the damage that had been done, the clear lines that had been ignored. "This should have been handled differently," he said. I didn't respond, because that part didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that it was being handled now, properly. They turned to leave, conversation already shifting to next steps, notices, internal corrections. As they walked back up the slope, she stayed behind for a second. Just a second, long enough to look at the rows, at the cameras, at me, like she wanted to say something, explain something, hold on to something, but she didn't, because there was nothing left to say that would change what had already happened. She turned and followed them, and just like that, it was over. A week later, the difference was obvious. Signs went up along the edge of the property. Clear, simple, private land, no access. The path that used to cut through my asparagus rows was gone, redirected completely, fenced off at the top, blocked at every entry point, not by me, by them. Because once the truth is clear, people don't argue with it. They adjust to it. I still checked the cameras out of habit for a while, expecting at least one person to ignore the signs, to test the boundary, to assume it didn't apply to them. But no one did, because this time, the message was consistent and backed by reality. As for her, I didn't see her much after that. When I did, she wasn't directing anyone, wasn't standing at the path, wasn't holding a clipboard like she controlled something. She kept her distance, and eventually, she wasn't there at all. I heard later there had been an internal decision. Quiet, unannounced, but effective. She was no longer representing the HOA in any capacity. Because even organizations built on rules understand one thing. You can't ignore boundaries just because they're inconvenient. And you definitely can't send people across them like they don't exist. As for the field, it recovered. Slowly, carefully. The damaged rows needed time, but they came back the way they always do when you treat them right. Order returned, structure returned, respect returned. And every now and then, I'd stand at the edge of the property and look at where that path used to be, where people once walked through like it didn't belong to anyone. Because the truth is, it wasn't about the path. It was about the assumption behind it, that if something looks open, it must be yours to use. And sometimes, the only way to fix that assumption is to show exactly where the line is and make sure it stays there. How did you like the story? Please like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel for more interesting HOA stories.